Hey guys, it's Hardy 40. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're doing all things dairy in the freeze dryer. And if you've never checked out this channel, we like to do freeze drying, some off-grid things, lots of cooking, some gardening, and journeying with me through the process of retirement at the age of 40. When I started this video, I wanted to do the obvious, which is milk. That's pretty much as dairy as it gets. And then I thought to myself, well, I think that I should do an entire batch of just milk, because anything that's totally liquid like this is going to completely throw off everything else. So I'm actually not going to do milk today. I'm going to do a separate video on milk, and stay tuned for that. But we are doing everything else dairy aside from eggs. Some people do consider eggs as dairy, some people don't. But obviously the egg video that I've done in the past, that's kind of what pushed me into trying this other dairy as well. So we're going to do cottage cheese, we're going to do yogurt, we're going to do block cheese that's sliced, we're going to do sandwich sliced cheese, and we're going to do shredded cheese. This is Greek yogurt. It does have a little bit different texture than like a flavored yogurt. It's a little bit thicker. It's almost like sour cream consistency if you've never had Greek yogurt before. Alright, I got the trays all loaded up. I'm going to throw these in the deep freeze for a few hours and get them nice and cold, and then we'll get our cycle started. I'm going to click pre-frozen so I can get my half an hour of pre-freezing done. Okay, our pre-freeze is complete. We got the food out of the deep freeze. I'll give you a quick shot of shredded cheese, sliced block cheese, the cottage cheese, which is going to be interesting, and the yogurt and sandwich cheese. Okay, we'll click continue, and we're going to the freezing. We're at 17 degrees, and just from the freeze cycle we're at 0.2 kilowatt hours. I started at 0. Alright, and for those of you that are doing this manually, once again I kind of hung out to see when the pump would kick on. It kicked on at 0 degrees. It's now at it's now at -1. Alright, we're a couple hours in and we are drying already. So I purposely only put 7 hours on the final dry because I wanted to see if this would get done in a small amount of time. And it's under 23 hours right now, so we're going to check and see if it got done. I'm gonna add some more time. These have been in for a couple more hours now. A few more hours with the pump cooling off. I imagine that they are totally done. I'm gonna take them upstairs and just cut them in half and make sure. Some of the cheese is pretty thick. So we ended up with 19.87 kilowatt hours. Give you a quick shot of what everything looks like now. The cheese looks similar, it's just shriveled up a little bit. The shredded cheese looks exactly the same, except for when you touch it you can tell that it's dry. Sliced cheese looks pretty similar. The yogurt, it just kind of cracked. Cottage cheese changed colors a little bit. And I can tell you just from doing this for many times, I think the cottage cheese and the yogurt will probably reconstitute pretty well. The cheese is probably going to be kind of tricky not to get it too watery. The cottage cheese texture is actually a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be more powdery, but it is actually staying in the curd form, which is really good. That's a good indicator that it will probably reconstitute well. The Greek yogurt is very flaky. And this, if I took my best guess, it's got a 50-50 chance of reconstituting well. I will say it gives me hope though for these two, because of how they turned out, that you can actually do milk successfully. Alright, I'm just going to add a dash of water to each of these. Greek yogurt looks good. I'm going to call that a success. Cottage cheese is pretty close. I might let this sit for a second and just kind of absorb some more water, but I think it's pretty good. This cheese is really interesting. It just crumbles apart, and I think I'm going to try something different with the cheeses that I haven't tried before. So I've had a couple people recommend trying a steamer, and I just so happen to have a steamer that has this insert tray that's not vented, so it's probably not quite as harsh as if you just set it in the serrated tray like this, where it would just kind of melt the cheese. So I'm going to give this a try. Worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work. Alright, in the meantime I checked on my cottage cheese again. It really didn't change a whole lot. I think I'm going to call it a success though. The texture is a little bit different and it looks more just like the small curd cottage cheese. So the size of the curds just kind of got mashed up as I added water. I'm going to call it a success. These have been in the steamer for about 10 minutes. The shredded cheese is just about where it should be. I'm not sure that the other things are going to do real well. There's 15 minutes. I'm going to call it a fail. It's starting to it's melting the cheese and it's not totally rehydrated. And if I put it in any longer, it's just going to completely melt it. The shredded probably worked the best, but it kind of melted as well. So unfortunately, the cheese, sliced cheese, shredded cheese, looks like it's probably not going to work very well. Just for kicks, let's throw some cheese and dunk it in some water and just see what happens. These have been hanging out in this bath of water for about 20 minutes, and it's sort of kind of worked. It's not real even texture. It's not like it's not flimsy like it normally would be when you just pull it out of the package, but I think it could work, other than just that it's soaked in water. But it does sort of work, kind of. It's really too bad on the cheese because I was really keeping my fingers crossed that it would work. I get in a lot of situations when we're camping or backpacking or hiking where you don't really have refrigeration because we're way up in the mountains, and something like dairy is really hard to take with you. And I was hoping the cheese would work because that would solve a lot of problems, but really, I mean, it still does work. The taste is still there, just the texture's not there. So, I mean, if you just wanted it for a snack or whatever, it would work. It's a real strange texture, but it tastes good still. So we found the solution to cheese. We didn't want all that cheese to go to waste. So my wife suggested to throw all of that cheese into a food processor. We blended it down into a powder, and now you can use it in powder form for macaroni and cheese, and you can use it for a topping, probably lots of other things. So now we're definitely going to have to do a macaroni and freeze-dried cheese video. On a different note, the cottage cheese and the yogurt did really well. The yogurt is definitely a thumbs up. It's spot on, and it gives me hope that the milk will do well. We'll have to find out on that. I'm going to stick these in the Harvestright and actually vacuum seal them. If you've never done that before, you really need to check out the video on how to do that. It's something the Harvestright can do that not a lot of people know that it can do, and it's very handy. It saves you from buying, and it gives you a really high quality seal and pulls all the oxygen out of these ball jars. In the meantime, remember to live life simple. This is Retired at 40. I'll catch you next week.